All righty, chapter 28, we're past the halfway point. Let's see, how do I want to sidetrack myself right off the bat here? Let's look at what we're dealing with. We are in the third generation now of the promise, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. In all cases, there was a reaffirmation of the covenant of the promise. Specifically, not just the promise, but the covenant, which is the covenant is inside of the promise. The promise is more expansive than the covenant promise. The promise than the covenant. The promise was for, well, let's go back and look at it because we're going to have to anyway. This is the promise. Verses 1 through 3, Genesis chapter 12. Go forth from your country and your kindred and your father's house to the land that I will show you, and I will make of you a great nation. And I will bless you and make your name great, so that you will be a blessing. Doesn't say how. I will bless those who bless you, and I don't know why it's him who dishonors you, I will curse. Not sure why they did that. Maybe they're two different Hebrew words. And in you, all the families of the earth will be blessed, but it's indefinite. Blessed how? Blessed when? There's none of that. And it will be literally millennia before we find out what the real nature of that blessing on the nations is. And I think it's one of the most not misunderstood, but not even attempted to be understood element of the gospel tradition. The mystery which was kept hidden from the ages, but which has now been made known to his holy apostles and prophets, which is that the Gentiles will become fellow heirs with the Jews and fellow members of the people of God. And it's pretty apparent that in retrospect, that's what he's talking about here. But there's no hint of that at this point. For the moment, the promise is going to be about that land. And that's going to be the focus of chapter 15 for the covenant. But you get the land part, not there, but in chapter 13, where he says, where does he say it? After Lot leaves, gets rid of the potential contender for Canaan, and then he affirms the land, which is going to be relevant today with Jacob. Lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are, northward, southward, eastward, and westward. For all the land that you see, I will give to you and to your offspring forever. We don't know who the offspring was at this point, but now we're homing in on it. It's going to be Jacob. I will make your offspring as the dust of the earth, so that if one can count the dust of the earth, your offspring also can be counted. Arise and walk, for I will give it to you. So he claims it by walking on it. And then there'll be a couple of instances where like he'll dig a well here or there. Isaac will do the same, or he'll buy that field from the Hittite. Was it the Hittites?
Yeah.
You know, staking it, literally putting a stake in the ground. And so that's like a down payment, in my view, on the fulfillment of this promise. But from the vantage point of Jacob and Isaac, it's all about the land. And that's going to be the subject of the covenant in chapter 15. And so when the promise made to Abraham transfers to Isaac, what gets transferred then is the inheritance of the land. And when Isaac, if you wonder what's the importance of being Isaac's heir, from the human perspective, it's the stuff, because they don't have any land. They're just there. That's part of the problem. In fact, part of the narrative's point is that Isaac is wandering around, even trying to find a place to dig a well, because the natives keep filling him in. And then he finally finds one in Beersheba, and okay, we have a home now. But they don't own anything land-wise, but they've got the stuff. So what's the point of being an heir? And the point is that along with that promise, along with the inheritance that Isaac will pass down when he passes down the stuff, he will also pass down this divine promise. So what comes with inheritance is the inheritance of all of Canaan, which Isaac doesn't even control yet. In fact, that's not going to happen for whatever, 500 years or some number like that. Long time coming. And that's the significance of Isaac's blessing on Jacob. When he blesses Jacob and passes inheritance down to him, he's also passing down the land of Canaan, which makes it incredibly ironic that the next story, the next move in the narrative is for Isaac, who just passed it down in the narrative, tells him to leave Canaan and go back up to Haran, where God told Abraham to leave and go down to Canaan. So, it's just the weirdest sequence of events. It's just like roundabout way of that the will of God works, but there it is. Because he doesn't want Jacob marrying a Canaanite woman. And the reason is very pragmatic. I mean, you have a human side of that and a divine side of that. On the human side, you have Rebecca, the mother, sick and tired of these Hittite women that the other son Esau married, which is probably why she favored Jacob in the first place. So she says to Isaac, look, it's very pragmatic. I'm sick of these Hittite women. I don't know what was wrong with them, but can you send him back to my people and he can get a wife from my family? Yeah, I'll do that. And so he has to leave Canaan to get a wife. In the grand scheme, now there's the divine side of that. The promise then will remain within the family of Abraham, at least for the moment. Of course, it's not going to last because the 12 tribes are just going to do what they do.
There's so much that we don't know about this narrative. We know everything that we need to know. We got everything we need to know about it. But it's easy to read into the text of the last chapter that Rebecca was scheming with Isaac to send Jacob away to preserve him. But it may very well be true that she was absolutely embored by these Hittite women that Esau married.
Well, it says earlier in the narrative that they were a burden. When it's brought up the first time that he married those two Hittite women, it's brought up that they would cause nothing but trouble for Rebecca and Isaac. So, which would be why the father Isaac would say, "Yeah, I don't like it either. So let's go back to. We'll send him back."
What's interesting is that he tells Jacob, says, you must not take over the Canaanite woman's right for the Padan Aram, the house of Bethel, your mother's father, and take your wife from they're one of the daughters of Laban, your mother's brother. Isaac didn't even know if Laban even had any daughters. Plus, ironic, he says daughters, and he ends up marrying both daughters.
My hunch is that they knew more.
Yeah.
They knew more about the family than's let on right here.
But probably merchant travelers have brought news back and forth, I'm guessing.
It's not a big, they keep in touch somehow. I don't know. It's just not a part of the narrative. So that's the layout of the story. So he's about to leave Canaan, the very land that he just inherited when Isaac passed down the blessing to him. So I'm just a messenger. I didn't think of it. I'm just explaining it. We're trying to. So that's where we are. We're at verse 10 there. You have I fixed the this is a new and improved thingamabob. Amongst all the other thingamabobs, I had to add.
You forgot that.
Yeah, and so now the narrative is headed towards this part right here. And this is going to be the crucial element to getting to the 12 tribes of Israel, which will involve 4 mothers. And what a rocky ride. We'll get back to that. He is leaving Beersheba, which is the south side of Canaan. And he's going to head up now. And as he leaves Canaan, what did they even call it? It's not a country. It's not a geographical boundary. It's a collection of peoples, disparate peoples that live in this particular area. So, you know, I don't even know, Canaan is a construct defined by God. It's this area here that I'm going to give to my people, but I don't know that it exists in the mind of anyone else as a geographic boundary.
I don't know.
So he's going to leave Canaan and he's going to end up going up here where they came from to where Abraham came from to get, well, it's going to turn out to be 4 wives. And 11 of the 12 kids?
11 of 12 kids were born up there.
Yeah, that's right.
Benjamin was born in Bethel.
It's an awesome story.
Yes.
All right. Now Jacob left Beersheba and went toward Haran, and he came to a certain place. I don't know. Stayed there that night because the sun had set. Taking one of the stones of the place, he put it under his head and lay down in that place to sleep. We've come a long way with pillow technology.
It's the same thing.
Yeah, I mean, the narrative is treated as if it's the usual thing to do. And he dreamed, and behold, there was a ladder set up on the earth, and the top of it reached to heaven. And behold, the angels of God were ascending and descending on it. And behold, the Lord, Yahweh, stood above it and said, I am the Lord, Adonai, Master, Lord, literally, the God of Abraham, your father, and the God of Isaac. So you can see the threefold formula now taking shape, the God of Abraham and the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob. The land on which you lie, I will give to you and to your offspring. Your offspring shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west, to the east, to the north, and to the south. So he's still in Canaan. And in you and your offspring shall all the families of the earth be blessed. Behold, I am with you and will keep you wherever you go, and will bring you back to this land. He probably needs that promise because it's going to be a while. For I will not leave you until I have done what I promised you. Then Jacob awoke from his sleep and said, surely the Lord, Yahweh, is in this place, and I did not know it. And how could he not know it? What is his, what do you mean you didn't know it? What is his understanding of deity? Surely this God, Yahweh, by name, is in this place, and the name Yahweh is not going to be revealed for hundreds of years to Moses. But surely this God, Yahweh, is in this place, and I didn't even know it. So I just don't understand exactly where we shouldn't assume too much about how they understood deity.
And you shouldn't apparently assume too much about how well their father taught them what his father taught them.
Exactly. And he was afraid and said, how awesome is this place? This is none other than the house of God and the gate of heaven. So you can see how similar that sounds to the twofold promise of 12, 1 through 3. I will make of you, I will bless you and make you your name great, so that I will bless those who bless you, and so on and so forth, that part of it. And then a little further, to your offspring, I will give this land. So he builds an altar. I think this is Bethel, if I remember. And then the second half, and the important part as far as the players are concerned, when he gets the promise of the land. So listen to the words. Lift up your eyes and look from the place where you are, northward, southward, eastward, and westward. For all the land that you see, I will give to you and to your offspring forever. That's to Abraham. Chapter 28 to Jacob, the land on which you lie, I will give to you and to your offspring. Your offspring shall be like the dust of the earth, and you shall spread abroad to the west, to the east, to the north, and to the south. And in you and your offspring shall all the families of the earth be blessed. So it's a virtual repetition of the promise. Previously with Abraham, as he came in, after which he will promptly move right on out south into Egypt with, in my opinion, the firm intention of never coming back. So God intervenes. But now with Jacob, he says it on his way out. So this is your guarantee. With Isaac, it appeared that Abraham thought, if I send him up there, he'll never come back. That kind of hangs over the narrative. So he sends his servant, do not let my son leave this land. Here, the son that's going to be the heir leaves the land, and just so there's no confusion about what's going to happen, God personally intervenes, personally appears to Jacob, personally reaffirms the covenant promise of the land, and personally promises you're coming back. So don't get too comfortable. And then it turns out he's going to have to. So Canaan's the only place he can go after he burns his bridge, after he wears out his welcome with Laban.
And interesting, even with Jacob's own son, the son of blessing, which I think would be Joseph. He was forced out of the land.
Jacob, yeah, there's always somebody. Yeah, there's always like shenanigans.
They all left the land.
It's a hard land to stay in. And who else will be forced off the land? Eventually.
The whole nation.
The whole nation will be forced off the land. 722 AD for the 10 northern tribes. 587, BC. Under the Assyrians, 587.
They never again, and 500 or 530. But then they're forced out of the land after, around 8070 or whatever that is.
And here we are again.
Yep.
Yeah. So don't mistake what I just said to mean the people of God, physical Israel, but it's a tough land to stay in.
And it's a contentious land.
Tis, always has been. I dare say probably at this point, you can just assume it always will be.
Until fresh rules.
Okay. Let's see, let's go back to this. Anybody want to say anything about this? We'll get into the latter thing in a second here.
Well, I think some of it, I mean, how much y'all knew God appeared at certain times in each of their lives to let them continue to let them know that this land is going to be yours. So they might not have talked about the Lord like we do today, or like Israel was supposed to have taught their kids through their history. It seems, probably Abraham was the most that probably the Lord communicated with overall, but even Isaac, he only appeared to Isaac at certain times of his life. Now he's doing the same thing with Jacob. And I think that's some of the reasons that Jacob said some of the things that he said, just because of the fact that God wasn't talked about in the family, and it was only when God pretty much appeared to them, let them know what he wanted. So
I find it interesting, the mode of appearance. Now, the scripture really doesn't say the mode of appearance that he had with either Isaac or Abraham, but you get the impression that God appeared to them face to face to some point, probably in the person of the pre-incarnate Christ, and taught to them. With Jacob, that he appeared in a dream. This is the first time I recall mention of God appearing to one of the patriarchs in a dream.
Yeah, he appears physically to Abraham just before when the two angels go to destroy Sodom and Gomorrah.
And I believe also in 17 when he gave the covenant of circumcision as well.
And then he holds back the arm of Abraham, and it's hard to tell. You have these references to the angel of the Lord.
Yes.
And in, I think, every single case, it starts out as the angel of the Lord, and suddenly the angel of the Lord speaks in the first person
So
in the name of God himself, and you don't know whether that's just how angels mediate or whether it really was an encounter with God himself. It is sometimes because Manoah, the husband, the father of Samson, his wife is going to get an appearance and they're going to say, and it's going to be the angel of the Lord, and they're going to say, wow, we've seen God and lived, or something like that. So, and here, you have, well, this is a vision, this is a dream, so I guess it doesn't matter, but yeah. It's not like they had written word, right? They didn't have a Bible.
And, in dealing with Moses, God spoke face to face. Now when Miriam contended about that Moses was putting himself up as being extra special, that kind of thing. He said, to a prophet, I speak in dreams and visions, but to Moses, I speak face to face. And it seemed like Abraham and Isaac had that same type of encounter.
Yeah, I agree.
Oh, even though Jacob had a dream, God, I think, appeared to him, through face to face too. We just didn't, it was just a live dream, even though he didn't know it.
But later on, he certainly did when he wrestled with him. That's for sure.
All right, so there it is. The point is that this is the transmission. This is the manner in which the covenant and its promises, the promises that it was based on, are transmitted to Jacob and done so personally by God. And it's an extension. So the inheritance through Isaac, when he blesses Jacob instead of Esau, is an extension of the higher promise of God that God had made to Abraham. And now that's getting passed down through Isaac in his blessing to Jacob, and off we go. So he got this statement here at the end of it. This is none other than the house of God. Is he exaggerating? Does he know what he's talking about? I don't know. He was there. I wouldn't argue with him, but let's go take a look at what Jesus thinks. It's right at the beginning of John. He's calling some disciples. Jesus decided to go to Galilee, which is the north side of Canaan in the time of Jesus, which would be 2,000 years after this events of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Galilee is a sea. Can we see it here?
It's not really showing up.
Not really showing up, is it? Here's the Dead Sea. So it's up here. But anyway, it's up, yeah, right here. Just below Tyre. That's the northern edge of Galilee in the time of Jesus. But so he's up there where he's doing ministry, or he's going to do ministry. He decided to go to Galilee. Why? He decided to go to Galilee. He found Philip and said to him, "Follow me." Philip was from Bethsaida, which I think is right on the northern shore of Galilee, of Sea of Galilee, which was the city of Andrew and Peter. So we find out where Andrew and Peter lived. And Philip found Nathanael and said to him, "We have found him of whom Moses and the law and also the prophets wrote, Jesus of Nazareth, the son of Joseph." So who is this person named? They think they found somebody great and someone prophesied. They have no idea. As great as they think he is, they don't have any idea. And they never will until after the resurrection. Nathanael said to him, "Can anything good come out of Nazareth?" Says one of the 12 apostles. I mean, they're unique people, right? There was, take away Jake, however you want to do it, take away Judas and add Paul, which I don't fill him. He's not one of the 12. So let's leave him out. There's only, Matthias, excuse me. So let's just go with the original. There were only ever 12 of these guys chosen on the face of the planet. So pretty unique people. Who says about where Jesus come from, can anything good come out of Nazareth? Well, in other words, what are you talking about? He's from Nazareth.
Well, he's thinking probably too, is Bethsaida was bigger city. And, Nazareth's just some
Yep.
little hick town,
But he denigrates Jesus by virtue of where he's born. Just no idea. And I wouldn't either if I was there, but in their world, they can't imagine, neither could the chief priests and so forth later. When they called Jesus the Nazarene, that was an insult. This Jesus the Nazarene, which is what we would be called Nazarenes if the derogatory term Christian had not been coined for the believers in Antioch. That was a derogatory term at the time that was picked up, which we embraced. But if that hadn't been the case, we would probably be known as Nazarenes. Anyway,
Created a problem today because we don't agree with the Nazarenes on law.
Philip, that's a rhetorical question, as if this is the sort of thing people say all the time to dismiss people from Nazareth. We all know nothing good comes out of Nazareth. So Philip says, now you understand, come and see. Jesus saw Nathanael coming toward him and said to him, behold, an Israelite indeed, in whom there is no deceit or guile. See, where's he going with this? There's a name hovering over this text. And it's the story of Jacob. It's written all over this right here.
No, you're right.
Nathanael said, how do you know me? And Jesus answered, before Philip called you, when you were under the fig tree, I saw you. So there's this kind of ambiguous statement made. Is he talking about some sort of higher seeing, or he just saw him under the fig tree? I saw you and Philip under the fig tree, so I knew who you were. I knew you were with him. In fact, I'm reading between the lines. I knew that I was going to call Nathanael, Philip, you were next on my list because I saw you both there. Whatever the case, he takes this as some kind of higher insight, divine insight. So Nathanael, it's really odd because he's going to say it, but he's never going to really believe, he's never going to understand what he said. He's absolutely right. It's like you have the meaning of the author and the meaning of the speaker, and this is a perfect example. Sometimes they're the same. Sometimes they're not the same. The speaker will say something. The author will use it in a way that is more than the speaker understood about what he was saying. And sometimes he will simply say, have the speaker communicate exactly what he wants to communicate, which he does with Jesus all the time. But not every time. But here, it says, Rabbi, you are the Son of God. You are the King of Israel.
He's the first to say it, as far as I know.
He's absolutely right. But he doesn't go far enough. And Jesus respond, nice try. That's how I read this. Nice try. Good effort. You get effort points for your understanding. You got about 20% of the way there. Let me give you the rest of it. Yes, I am the Son of God, and I am the King of Israel. But I'm more than the son of David and the king of physical Israel. I'm the son of the living God and King of kings and Lord of lords. Because I said to you, I saw you under the fig tree, do you believe? You will see the greater things than these. Truly I say to you, you will see heaven opened and the angels of God ascending and descending, not on a ladder, which was the vision, but on the Son of Man, he calls himself. So he said, truly you are the Son of God, but Jesus changes the title to Son of Man. Why does he choose Son of Man? Infer, he uses the word king. And he has this exalted perception of himself, and then he uses Son of Man. And as you go through the gospel tradition, the four narratives, it's pretty clear that the title Son of Man comes from Daniel chapter 7. I saw one like a Son of Man coming with the clouds and so forth, and he inherited a kingdom, and his kingdom will never end, and so on and so forth. Daniel chapter 7, 13 and 14, I think. So all of that is we can infer and is implied, I think deliberately, not just the implied, but the meaning of his reference to this story about Jacob, where he now takes the place of Jacob, only it's not a vision and it's not a ladder over there, but the angels of God are ascending and descending on him as if he is the point of the story or of the vision that happened 2,000 years ago. Like he was there, like he was the one speaking in the first place. When right here,
When I think of the ascending on the Son, man, it almost makes it sound like he's the ladder.
that's a good point. Here, God is on the top of the ladder. And angels are ascending and descending. In Jesus' use of it, he's at the bottom of the ladder. And angels are ascending and descending on him. So it's much more nuanced and complex the way that he incorporates. It's like the vision that the dream that Jacob had. We now understand what was really going on. That dream was a foreshadow. That event was a foreshadowing, was prophetic. It was an enacted parable. It was an enacted prophecy that eventually God would be on the other side of the ladder, having come down to earth, but as to inherit a kingdom. He comes to earth to inherit a kingdom. And in order to do so, he must die and then rise again. All of that, I think, is implied. Because at this moment, Jesus knows exactly what his destiny is. So he knows he's king. He knows he's going to inherit a kingdom. And he knows the path to that kingship runs right straight through the cross.
Well, Nathaniel, when he said the king of Israel, he was probably thinking too, the fact that most years Messiah is going to come and destroy the Romans.
Yeah, it's physical.
And he wasn't talking spiritual.
No, he wasn't.
One day God, Jesus Christ is going to be the king of this kingdom. And so when he said it, he just said, Son of God, you are the king of Israel. He was probably thinking, okay, this is our Messiah is going to destroy the Romans. When he did say it, when he said that, so.
He was right as far as it went.
Which also means that he probably had a better understanding of Messiah than the normal people, because at least today, Jews contend that Messiah was never Son of God.
Right. Well, he understood that, and he understood something about messiahship. And he also had the insight that this is the guy.
Jews today still are looking for that Messiah. They didn't acknowledge him needing to be that
Right.
Messiah, so they're still looking for him to come.
You see the phrase, you will see heaven opened? Now that I think about it, is that story in John? Maybe it's going too far. Not in there.
What story you pick up?
Huh, that's interesting. Let's go with Luke. His baptism. Captures that. Parted? Beloved son. Let's see. Luke. Another one. I'm a voice from
The
heaven.
baptism? The transfiguration, Matthew 17.
The voice from heaven. I thought it was the heavens opened. I thought that same, is it in there? I'm kind of sidetracked right now, but heaven.
You will see the open that be Stephen speaking.
Yeah, so you got this idea here. Thought that Jesus, I thought it was used of Jesus. Nope, never mind. I imagined it. So anyway, there's this correlate, there's this, this is a case where Jesus and John, the author, radically reinterpret the dream. They give you 2,000 years after the fact what the dream really meant. That's the point. There's no indication what all Jacob can do is infer, wow, this is pretty weird and unbelievable, right? This is awesome. That he infers, truly God is in this place. The Lord, where is it? I lost it now. Surely the Lord is in this place. Yep. This is none other than the house of God and the gate of heaven. But that's as far as he goes with it. And then in 2,000 years later, it turns out that a lot more was going on than that. And that it was prophetic. It was an enacted prophecy of the coming down of the Son of God to receive a kingdom, who would be a descendant of Jacob, and therefore the fulfillment of, in your seed, all the nations of the earth will be blessed. That's how I read it. All from a man who's named, like Esau said, isn't he rightly named Jacob? Because he's cheated me twice now. Well, Jesus picks up on the same thing here, right? He knows he's going to tell the story in a minute. He's already got the story in his mind. So he says, to introduce the story, John chooses which parts of the story he wants to put in here. And what he chooses is the part where Jesus says to Nathaniel, is it Philip? Which one is it?
Behold in Israel indeed.
Yeah, in whom there is no deceit. That's absolutely a direct reference to Jacob. So, yep. Amazing. Just got to wait a long time, man. Going to wait a long time for some of these.
Nathaniel was also wondering, how in the world did you know I said something about you? If the fact that Jesus was the guy, because any normal human being would have known what the thing he said. So
this is the only time you're going to see either Nathaniel or Philip speak, I think, in the gospel tradition. They will have no role, given their prominence here.
Philip will speak in chapter 14. Show us the Father and it's
okay.
For us.
And
Jesus rebukes him.
Sometimes you get it right and sometimes you don't. Like Peter did in one verse after another. Who do you say I am? You are the Christ, the Son of the living God, or whatever. And then right after that, get thee behind me, Satan. You know what you're talking about. It's like one verse. Man, I was on a roll there, says Peter. I was so close.
The only other time I remember the name of Nathaniel being mentioned is probably in chapter 21 when they went fishing.
Yeah, I don't think they don't speak though.
And in the other gospels, I think he's referred to as Bartholomew. So
in Acts, they will have no role. They will disappear after the list of the disciples, the apostles.
Philip becomes prominence in the book of Acts.
Yeah.
Now, I was reading on in the text here, and what struck me is Jacob's response after the woke up in the morning, the dream. Wow.
Let's see if I got anything else I want to say about this. I ad-libbed all of that, so I don't know whether I was right. I said it. Let's see. Formal transfer of the covenant blessing. Let's see. There's no angel of the Lord in this narrative. He had some kind of encounter with Yahweh, the God of future Israel. Doesn't seem to care about Jacob's. He understands that Jacob's deceitful because he's going to say it 2,000 years later essentially. But he doesn't seem to, it doesn't seem to matter to him right now.
Well, God chooses who he chooses, not based on who they are, but based on his choice. That's,
This is the fifth time we've had a reference to the worldwide scope of the blessing. We're only in Genesis chapter 28 of a narrative, a meta narrative that will be 66 books and span a little over 2,000 years of history. But already it's fundamental to the narrative. It's primary in the narrative. This is 5 times. In you, all the families of however you want to say that, of the earth will be blessed. So Jacob is promised a multitude of descendants before he is even married. So he's going to walk into Pad and Aram with nothing, literally. There's no indication he's even got a donkey. I mean, he might, but for all we know, he's just walking up there. Now he must have had something. And then he's going to come back with 4 wives and 11 kids and all kinds of flocks and herds and stuff like that. And one of Laban's household idols. God commands Jacob to do nothing. He binds Jacob to no oaths, and he calls no obedience upon him, on Jacob. He just tells him what God is going to do. That's it. Jacob is the one who's going to say, if God does this and this and this, then I will.
that's what I found interesting in the following phrase. Well, if you do this one, then you'll be my God.
Yeah.
He's had this awesome experience. I mean, he even says, how awesome is this place? How awesome is it that he appeared to me, but no, I'm not ready to commit to him yet.
Or maybe this has been understood. Yeah, I mean, how does he understand deity? And this is just what you did, right? Maybe this is just this is the arrangement with deity. There's always maybe in their conception, it's always conditional. You attach yourself to a deity because it will be a benefit to you to do it, and the deity agrees. The deity has agreed to do something on his side. Now the human agrees to do something on his side. And that's in his mind, it's an arrangement.
And there's really no hint that they understood monotheism.
No, not yet. No, that'll come in 30 something. Put away the foreign gods from among you. Yahweh is going to be our God. He's going to say to the 12. So early in the morning, Jacob took the stone that he had put under his head. Now we know why it was mentioned. Set it up for a pillar, poured oil on the top of it. Called the name of that place Bethel. So Bethel's already been referred to on the story about Abraham. But it's anachronistic because it's not going to get the name. It turns out the one who named it that was Jacob, unless it's a renaming. But we now know where he is. Bethel, is Bethel on this thing? Doesn't matter. It's right north of Jerusalem, so it's like right here. So he's still well inside of Canaan. We don't know whether he departed over this way and went that way out, or whether he just kept right on walking north. But it doesn't matter. Call the name of that place Bethel, but the name of the city was Luz at the first. Jacob made a vow, saying, here's his response: if God will be with me and will keep me in this way that I go, and will give me bread to eat and clothing to wear, so that I come again to my father's house in peace. In other words, if he keeps up his end of the bargain, this is the way I'm reading it. If he does his part, I'll do my part. Then the Lord, Yahweh by name, shall be my God. And this stone, which I have set up for a pillar, shall be God's house. And of all that you give me, because this is what you did, I will give a full tenth to you. Now, look at that reference to God's house. Let's go take a look at Bethel. What happened to Bethel? So he called it God's house, right?
Yeah. It's the both cats.
Let's see. First Kings. Right here. First Kings 12. Rehoboam and Jeroboam. So Rehoboam's the king, and this is the division of the kingdom after Solomon's death. Rehoboam's in the south. He's the descendant, he's the heir from Solomon. Jeroboam, who is the one who God appeared to say, if you follow me and so on and so forth, I'm going to rip 10 tribes away from David, and I'm going to give him to you if you'll follow me. And he won't follow him for 8 seconds, or maybe for about 8 seconds. So Jeroboam, then, now there's a new kingdom in the north. And what he doesn't want, they got to do this religious thing is important in the identity and the national identity of Israel and the 10 northern tribes. He doesn't want them going to Jerusalem to these festivals and to whatever else is the national worship, the national service. He doesn't want them doing that. So he sets up centers of idolatry, of worship in Dan to the north to make it easy for them, and Bethel in the south. And you see that right here. So he did in Bethel, sacrificing to the calves that he made, and he placed in Bethel the priests of the high places that he had made. And he went up to the altar that he had made in Bethel on the 15th day of the 8th month, in the month that he had devised from his own heart. And he instituted a feast for the people of Israel and went up to the altar to make offerings. And it becomes like official center of idol worship. So here, he calls it the house of God. It was the first city, it was the first location, it was the first place that Abraham built an altar to God. So it was like this sacred, there was no more sacred place in all Israel than Bethel. I mean, you talk about a book of origins. Genesis being a book of origins. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. He calls Abraham and creates promises to create a people of God ex nihilo, out of nothing, like he created the heavens and the earth. Now you have the institution of the worship of the tribe of Israel, the tribe of Jacob. Before there is even a tribe, there is this covenant-ish arrangement where Jacob and his descendants will be God, Yahweh will be their God. That all happens at Bethel. So it's again, it's a part of an origin story. The origin of where and how Yahweh became on the ground, in reality, the God of Israel. Because he's going to get renamed to Israel. And that place becomes this. They desecrate it. 1 Kings chapter 12. What else have I got to say? Since I didn't write any of that down. Well, let's see. Was there
about generations moving away from their ancestors' intentions? I mean, we see it even in our own nation, places where we're founded.
Yeah, you move away
Established
from your origins.
Now it's
The Romans did it at one point in the Roman Empire, at the time of Jesus, at the height of Pax Romana, which was from Augustus 31 BC through Marcus Aurelius 180 BC, 180 AD, so 200 years. The height of Pax Romana, there was Rome had 1 million residents. they reached a point with its continued decline and fall that there were 17,000 people living in Rome or something like that. And then it was abandoned as the center of the empire. Constantine moved it from Rome to Constantinople. In 325, during his reign. So, and then the Huns shortly after that in the 400s. Basically, they didn't destroy the city, but that was over for Rome. Origins, and then that's what happens.
But
The Greeks never really moved away from Athens. Which is interesting. All right, what else have I got? I'm gonna close here in a second. Maybe we can read the next time on the proclamations against Bethel by Amos and Hosea.
yeah,
In fact, Jeroboam, I wrote this, Jeroboam started his revolt in Bethel. And one of Josiah's acts of reformation, which would have been the 600s, just before the fall of the southern kingdom, was to destroy the altar at Bethel. So it stood from Jeroboam in the 900s. It stood for 250 years.
it's still for
So-
at least 100 years after the Northern Kingdom went into captivity.
Yeah. And that's it, I think. That's all I got. So we finished nicely there. We'll pick up 29 next. Anybody want the last word? Okey dokey. Who have I got? Got some Batterbees and some Stacy's. see how-
Buying everything.
Yep, see you, Nate.
I never get that.
Speak-
I get an extra hour.
Speaking of Nathaniel,
Well,